Hey everybody, long time no talk. It's your girl, Chloe, aka Finds by Chloe on POSHMARK and Instagram, or you can find me over at my Apple podcast, which is DEATHPILEPALS. So today we have a very special, long-awaited video. I'm here to spill the tea respectfully about my personal experience on Whatnot, why I am no longer selling on there, and why I'm just deleting the application altogether. I do have my MacBook here, just with a lot of notes, things I've gathered, but at the very end, I'll kind of, like in a little slideshow, I will, without their names, out of respect for their privacy, I'll show some screenshots from some top sellers or even buyers that I spoke to who came to me saying that they were having very similar issues with Whatnot or their experience, what they dealt with. And hopefully this video can bring some awareness to the creators. I personally, and a lot of other people I know, have tried to get in contact with Whatnot, have not really gotten much of a response back. So hopefully this video reaches them. Video is not to bash whatsoever. This video is 100% to educate and, again, hopefully bring some awareness to what is going on. So I jumped into Whatnot not knowing too much, which was 100% my fault. So hopefully this video again can educate you on kind of the do's and the don'ts and all that good stuff. And last thing I want to mention before we get started in this video is that each topic I mention, I also say what I could have done differently. So without further ado, let's get into the story time. So topic one, I just want to quickly speak on kind of the application process to actually reaching like training and onboarding. So I actually didn't jump on Whatnot like right off the bat. I was kind of weary about it. It was brand new. It's nothing that I really was interested in per se. I already did Instagram lives. Never had issues with those, but again, just very new. So I kind of wanted to see how everyone else was doing, and everyone else I knew personally seemed to like the application pretty well. It wasn't until a lot of resellers that I personally knew that would thrift at the same spots I did came up to me, and they were like, hey, like, have you applied? You know, have you gotten onboarded? You would be so good for something like this. Like, you have the kind of stuff that like we see in lives all the time. Like, you have to join, go apply, whatever. So I did. Side note, I didn't use a referral code. I didn't use anyone's referral code to join. And the reason I mentioned that is because once I applied, it took me about 2 weeks to get onboarded, which from what I heard and what I believe, if I would have used someone else's referral code, like a bigger account, a bigger content creator, a bigger reseller, I feel like I would have gotten onboarded much quicker. If I could go back, I would use someone else's referral code. So that's that. Applying was really easy. Maybe a red flag, maybe a little too easy. You really just need like your name and an email and a picture of inventory, which at the time I didn't think anything of it, but looking back, anybody can apply, and you could literally just take a picture of your closet and they would probably accept you within some given time frame. I had to wait almost 2 weeks because 2 weeks later was like the soonest training onboarding process, which kind of ties in with what we're going to talk about in a little bit, with there being so many people. It took me 2 weeks to be accepted, took me 2 weeks to start my onboarding and my training. Showing your face was mandatory. Showing up to the live, the Google Live, Zoom, I forgot what it was on. You had to show up 5 minutes early, and I think that was it in terms of like requirements, besides the little quiz that you have to do at the end. I was there 5 minutes before, had my camera on, everything kind of looked a little presentable. Training is where we hit one of our first like big red flags. There was 80 people, so not only was it glitchy and slow, you just had a lot of randoms, a lot of people with their mic on, a lot of people just not really paying attention. Onboarding was only 15 minutes. Now, I want to mention this also because this is probably one of the first problems I had. Just, I feel like it wasn't regulated with the whole live situation. A lot of the people, at least half, did not have their camera on, which was supposed to be a requirement. And a lot of them showed up super late. So in this whole situation, I do feel like, me personally, I just should have asked more questions. I feel like that would have helped a ton in the long run. Mind you, there was like 20 people on and off asking so many questions, and kind of just the same repeat questions. I didn't want to wait there forever to get in like my 5 or 6 questions. I was just impatient. 100% my fault. I should have asked more. I probably wouldn't have gotten stuck as much. As we go on, you'll see there's just a lot of lack of training that just caused overall stress and issues for me. Topic number 2, it is time to go live for the first time. You are allowed to go live 3 days or 72 hours, something like that, after you complete onboarding, after you're completely accepted in as a seller. I had my first live 5 days after I was accepted, so I could have started a live like 3 days later, but I already planned a live on that Saturday, so that is when I had mine. This one, I'm just going to read right off my laptop because it's like a list. Prep beforehand is way too much. Between figuring out the app/desktop site yourself, because no training, especially on that. They did not tell us a single thing about the application besides like shipping, which we'll get to that also, but they just said like bundles. They were talking about bundles, like if you were to go over a weight limit, how to fix that. Making listings for all 30 plus items, oh my gosh, it took me like 3 or 4 hours, because again, I had to figure out the application itself, and then once I figured out how to make listings, you have to take a picture of each one, make a listing for each one, it gets added to your shop. It was just a lot, whatever. Call me lazy, call me whatever you want. I work my butt off at reselling. I resell. This was a long process. I'm not just saying this to be extra and exaggerate. At least starting off, if you've had a handful of lives, then yes, your process is probably going to be a lot swifter. But with lack of training, just kind of jumping into it, it was very confusing at first, and it took me a while to just like prep and draft those first 30 items. Then you have to prep freebies and a giveaway. Freebies are completely optional, but they like really push in training to like have giveaways, which funny enough, the person who won my giveaway on the one live I had didn't even buy anything, which they don't have to. I just thought it was like ironic because it was like a big giveaway and they didn't even end up buying anything. And also just hyping it up, putting it out there on social media, gaining followers. I had so many incentives. I think I gave away a total of like $50 store credit to different people just to like follow me or use referral codes, which will hit on referrals at the end because me and a bunch of others never got paid for those. So starting the live, I'm very grateful for the few people that I knew who watched my live and helped me out immensely figure out the app, because until you go live, like once you go live, there's like so many other buttons and extra stuff you can do, if that makes sense. So again, you're not trained on it, so until you actually go live, you're just seeing that stuff for the first time and how to use it, how to like pin things in the live and start the giveaway, end the giveaway. Those kind of things were really confusing to me, but luckily, thank you. You know who you are if you guys are watching this. Thank you so much for helping me, because I would have looked like a fool. It's different for everyone, but nothing really sold over like $5-6. Again, not a big deal. It's kind of what I expected. That's why I didn't put like, a bunch of free people and top name brands in there. But yeah, they didn't really sell for too much. At the end, I made like $100 total, and that's before, profit, before you take away expenses and stuff. So again, an hour-long live, took about 4 hours to prep, took 2 weeks to be accepted, took 2 weeks until training. If you see what I'm saying, this is just like, to me, this is a lot to end up with $100 payout. if that makes sense. For me personally, I cross-list on so many platforms. I make YouTube videos, I have a podcast, I run a whole Instagram business account, you know, so using up that much time for something like that, if you get what I'm saying, just didn't make sense to me. And after the live, you are just emailed the shipping labels. Seems pretty self-explanatory, right? That's what I thought. So in this whole situation with the live and everything, what I think I could have done a bit differently is looked more into how lives work, maybe watch some YouTube videos, read up on some forums, maybe even watch more lives. I really only watched, I'd say 5 or 6 lives before I went live myself. And on their part, I just really feel like the interface, the app, the desktop, all of it is really confusing. Again, we're going to go back to the point of lack of training. Topic 3, packaging and shipping. This is where things went downhill. I'm going to start off by saying this, and I cannot express this enough. I want to make this very clear. Before you start anything, literally the second you get accepted, change your shipping labels to 4x6. If you're using a regular printer, then you don't have to do that. Don't listen to me. But most people I know, at least, have a label printer, which is 4x6. We were not told this during the live. It is very complicated to, at least for me, I couldn't find the shipping settings for a hot minute because, side note, their frequently asked questions is not updated to their current app or their current desktop. They are, I guess, old answers because, for example, if you go on their frequently asked questions on how to change shipping labels, it tells you a whole different thing than how you actually find them. So that just had me completely mixed up for a hot minute, but I finally found them. And before we'll get to how I figured out that little shipping thing, because the labels that were sent to me were very weird. They looked kind of weird. They were really small. I was like, okay, maybe if I like resend them, they'll send correctly. I don't know. I've been reselling for almost 4 years and I've never seen labels like come out like that. So I emailed them about the label issue, and this was after because I asked on Instagram or something. I was like, hey, like, why are the labels like this? And they were like, you have to go to your shipping settings, change it by 4x6. I was like, thank you. I was never told that. We weren't, taught that during training. So I did that. But I had already opened the email and like queued or batched whatever, all of the labels as you're supposed to do. And you cannot whatsoever, what are you thinking, change the labels once you like queue them or batch them. Like once they're generated, that's it. Like you cannot change the sizing of them. You can't go back, you can't like refresh. No. Led me to emailing them. I didn't really get much of a message or email back minus, yeah, they should work. Like, no, your labels are good. They were sent to you correctly. Like, it's fine. It'll be fine. So I assumed it would be fine. I'm stuck with I had 12 orders, 12 mini labels, weird mini labels, and just fingers crossed I sent out those 12 packages. So 2 days later, a customer came to me and asked if she could cancel her order. And I was like, well, that's weird. These were shipped a couple days ago, so, haven't received it yet. So, like, what's the issue? Like, why do you want a refund? Why do you want to cancel this? It's not even to you yet. And she told me, she was like, oh, well, it says that nothing's been shipped. I was like, that's weird. Now, I want to make this clear. This was, again, lack of training. You'll hear this a lot. Lack of training. They did not tell us this during training. This isn't something I saw, which it's probably in there, but I just wasn't looking for this specifically in the frequently asked questions. But you have to batch drop off, which is like in the label thing. It's like whatever, up in the settings, where you see all your labels. I wasn't aware of that. I was like, hey, I fixed the issue. And she was like, great, thanks. But the next day she messaged me because tracking just never updated. Again, mind you, these have been shipped out for, at this point, at least for almost 5 days. And that just doesn't make sense. They should have gotten scanned in. And I noticed that 2 of the 10 packages were dropped off. But I did notice once she brought it to my attention and I checked the other tracking, none of them were scanned in. They all said like awaiting, you know, to be shipped, whatever it says. And I was like, okay, that's really weird. You know, it just doesn't make sense. How do I drop off 12 packages, 2 of them get scanned in, make it home, and then the other 10 like claim they're just, you know, lost in space? I don't know. So at this point, I'm freaking out. My customer's not upset. She didn't seem upset, but you know, she's like, where's my package? Rightfully so, because she paid for it. So that was just really confusing and really stressful. And almost 7 days after shipping, everyone finally has their packages. I only found this out because people started messaging me, hey, I love my stuff. Thank you very much. This, that. To this day, like right now, I could go on there and show a screen cap. It still says like not delivered, like never been scanned. You know, very, very weird. So maybe Whatnot, if you're listening, maybe you guys can fix that issue, because I've never had an issue with like any tracking updating, which I mean, there's times as a reseller, you get times here and there where just tracking acts a little wonky. Sometimes they forget to scan things in. It happens. But 10 packages... And to this day, like I said, luckily, everyone has their stuff now, so it's fine. I got the payout for it. It's cool. But it still shows up that those were just never delivered, and I don't know how that affects me, because I did get payout, but the tracking says something different, if that makes sense. Total, I made $102 after fees. I made about 76 bucks, and after expenses and everything and my time and energy, I profited about 20 bucks. Again, not worth it to me. Just not worth it to me. After the whole thing, after all the stress, packages 7 days later finally getting to customers, I just kind of washed my hands of it and went on Instagram and was like, hey, I gotta make a story time, because just y'all gotta know what I just had to deal with. It's kind of ridiculous, especially for just, again, the end-all payout just wasn't worth it. So things I could have done differently, I'm just gonna read it right off of here, what I typed out. I could have educated myself more on the whole shipping process, I guess. But this is the one topic where I feel like I did everything correctly and feel like I made very little error with the tools I was given. Was on edge for a week, not knowing where packages were or what to do. And out of the 3 emails I sent in total, 2 of them I literally got no help on, and the whole thing with which the labels messed up anyways, but the email about the labels was the only time they really got back to me with like, oh, it should be fine. Like, yeah, they may look a little weird. You can just change whatever afterwards, and they should be good. Like, you're good to go. That was the only time that they like really messaged me back with like a legit response. So things Whatnot needs to change. Better training, easier shipping dashboard, and ability to change sizing with ease when it comes to the labels. So yeah, just whole problem with the interface. Just not good. Training, not good. For the last and final topic, why I am no longer using Whatnot and the empty promises that were given. So you're told that you get $200. It's kind of like an incentive thing. If you refer people to sell on there, they fill out the application, they get onboarded, they get accepted, whatever. They have their first live, and they had their first show or they make their first sale. One of the two. I totally forgot. But I had at least 4 girls who got accepted, and at least 2 of them had their first show, made their first sale. So I should have gotten at least 400 for those 2. I received $0 payout. At this point, some people might say like, oh, you should have messaged them about that. Other people I know, a few top sellers I know, one of them I think will show in the messages at the end, didn't receive payout whatsoever, and they onboarded much more people than I did. Never received payout. They were back and forth with Whatnot about referrals and getting their money for that. So for anyone saying like, oh, you should have messaged them yourself, like you should have emailed them yourself, at this point, with the $20 profit to my name and people I know not really getting much of a response back, or bigger sellers not getting their referral money, I wasn't about to put myself through more stress and more time trying to get in contact with these people for some referral money that I'm probably never going to see. Another thing that I want to point out is that thankfully, I bought nothing off of Whatnot, but so many people I know, and again, a lot of top sellers, got items, which this relates back to just them letting everybody and anybody on board, them onboarding everybody, them accepting all applications, doesn't matter who you are, literally. A lot of fakes, stained items, ripped items, items not in the condition as, which kind of relates to all those, but just items not in the condition as they were told. That's totally a seller issue, obviously. You have these sketch people, you have these scammers on there who are screwing people over 110%, but who let them on this application? You know, I did have a few people message me trying to like really defend Whatnot, like, oh, you can't blame the application for bad sellers, da-da-da. Well, who let these people on there? Like, who didn't, you know, do much of a background check on a lot of these people? It's not just like, oh, a couple people got some bad items. People were receiving, like, people I know personally were receiving bags and bags, like 5 packages, all junk, stained, bad, ripped, not good, fake designer, you know, like from multiple people. So it's not just like, oh, a few bad apples. There's just so many bad apples, and all the bad apples are just let on there, which touches on my next point. Again, just there's no quality control for scammers. From what I know, there isn't like, oh, so many return requests will get you banned or whatever. It's just kind of swept under the rug, which is very odd to me. Say all that to end with this. Like I said, there's obviously plenty of issues between buyers. There's issues between sellers. This is a very new app. It is not supposed to be perfect. Poshmark, like I said on my Instagram, Poshmark tweaks things, I feel like weekly, if not bi-weekly. And Poshmark has been around for how long? So that's not the issue. It's just like nothing is being done, and it's really disheartening. I shouldn't feel on edge about any of my packages making it to their customers because of bad labels that I was sent, you know? So that is it for this video today. Hopefully you were able to take something out of this video. I would love to hear you guys' experiences down below, or anything you've heard or dealt with, whether you are a seller or a buyer. Clearly issues, there's people not being responded to, which I can't even imagine the flood of emails they get, but just nothing's being fixed. And my issues and my emails occurred a couple weeks ago, and nothing has changed since then, you know? So I just want to address that and make it clear, and hopefully the application gets better, the selling experience gets better, easier. Hopefully the interface and the training kind of clears up a bit once people slow down trying to join, or once they crack down on like who can join and who can't. If you are still considering selling on there, 10 out of 10. I hope you succeed to the max. I hope you make all this money. I have a handful of friends who love Whatnot, who I have a friend having a live in like an hour. So it's really to each their own, and not everything is going to be your cup of tea. I just wanted to bring awareness to my situation and what some others dealt with as well. You know, you'll be able to pause and see some of the messages I got, but I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day. And check me out on all my socials. They'll be linked down below. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'll try to push out some more YouTube videos. It can be kind of hard with, like I said, the podcast and Instagram and the business and everything, but I know you guys really like me coming on here, and even if it's just ranting. So I will see you guys next time, and you have a lovely rest of your day.